If you were running a database server, how would you protect the file structure? How would you protect the server? It is best to think of an AI as an interactive database, and you want to protect it in the same ways. Once a year, you should try to achieve some new designation in some area of knowledge. Keep investing in yourself. This will give you ways to think that are different than other people.
Toby, welcome to Sunny Silver Lining. I truly appreciate you coming to my show.
Sunny, thank you for the invite. It's an honor to be here. I love the work you're doing, and I'm excited to be useful.
Thank you. And we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago. And when I was talking to you, I'm like, there's just so much mindset alignment. There's so much values alignment. And I got more excited about having this conversation and sharing what you lived as an entrepreneur, as a business, as a leader, the lived experience that you have, that sharing that with the world, because what I could sense from just having a couple of conversations with you is that you are someone who is a true go-giver. And I'm excited about having this conversation and sharing our experience, our wisdom, our mistakes with the world.
Well, thank you, Sunny. I'm looking forward to it. And as you say, there's so much alignment and our shared desire to make the world a better place for all the MSPs, for people running businesses, and increase light and happiness in the world if we can.
Yes. And let's start with your journey, your leadership journey. Tell us where you started and where you are today.
Well, thanks. So to compress it, I'm the kind of entrepreneur that started early in my teenage years, and I went through several different companies and partnerships. But MNS Group, the MSP that I have the honor of co-leading with my wife, launched in 1999 as an IT support division of another company. And at that time, I was kind of the engineer with an afro and flip-flops and shorts, and I thought I could just show up anywhere looking any which way because I was the IT guy. And I learned a few years later that I had to, have a presentation that's acceptable to the clients. But to fast forward to 2005, I learned a painful lesson: don't share a lawyer with your partners. And I ended up buying the IT service business from my partners, and they went with their graphic design business another direction. But that painful lesson also was a birth. The first 4 or 5 years with those partners was a seed that then sprouted, and we had some contracts where we were doing support and helping companies. But I love technology. I loved fixing things, inventing things, figuring it out. I was really frustrated with hourly billing because every month I was spending a ton of time going back and forth with clients. And so I went and looked at the auto insurance industry and life insurance and sort of their actuarial tables. And I said, well, how can I look at IT service as claims against my service, like an auto insurance claim? So I accidentally became an MSP. We came up with a flat rate contract. We call it our living contract. That's based on claims data against our services. And I rapidly had to learn how to lead a team. I was no longer just the head engineer working as a division. I was leading a group of people, and they were trusting me with their lives. And I started to realize their families are trusting me. So back then it wasn't just my 9 engineers, it was their families, their dog, maybe their mother-in-law living there. And I felt a great responsibility to invest in my leadership. So I started reading Harvard Business Review and avidly trying to understand what other people were doing, following various leadership, we call them blogs now, but and newspapers, really consuming a lot of business newspapers, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, things like that, and going to seminars about leadership and listening to other leaders. At that little while later, I ran into Gary Pica and some other people who are well known in the channel. So all these things fed into this desire to grow in leadership. I joined some different leadership groups like Vistage and spent time talking to other CEOs. And I've learned that as a leader, I must always continue to invest in leading, learn from other leaders, be curious, endlessly curious, asking questions, and really serving my employees, finding the best way to help them grow. is what really leads to the great customer experience, stability in the company, and loyalty in the long run.
That is so awesome. I talk to a lot of leaders at Toby, and one thing that's common in them is lifelong learning and having that burning desire to be a sponge. And when I was listening to your journey and where you started, very early age, so that's where that work ethic showed up. That you started with your work ethic, which was high standards work ethic, very early stage. Because there is no substitute for hard work.
Absolutely. If I could, something that's always intrigued me, because I saw that echo sort of in your story too, of hard work and dedication. I look for employees and we interview on our values. And one of those values that we have is the value of drive. It's not giving up. It's that tenacity and pushing forward and figuring it out. And we aren't as concerned about technical capacity. If somebody has drive, we can invest in them with knowledge, but you can't add drive to a person. They have to have that sort of innately somehow.
Once you start and the work ethic is there, the hard work is there, then it's about grit, because you are continuously pushing yourself, that internal IT division to looking at possibilities and putting that diligence behind that bigger dream. And you dreamed big, basically. This is, if there are three things that I'm taking away from your journey is dreaming big and always dreaming bigger, right? That your ambition is always bigger to grow capabilities. And that's like where the dreaming big comes. And then having that diligence, having that grit to continuously grow and grow your basically capabilities, and the cash follows. Cash is a byproduct of being ambitious about continuous growth. And then really being that person who is a go-giver, where you show up to share and give, and where you get more, right? It's basically you are adding value to other people, and your value creation happens as a byproduct of you creating value for others with your capabilities that are ever-growing capabilities with lifelong learning. So beautiful, beautiful journey. Beautiful, beautiful message there, Toby. Thank you for sharing that. And now I want to get into a little bit more where you are as a MSP leader and where are you going in terms of, let's say, your next 1 year, 3 year bigger dream.
Well, thank you for that. So where I am, it's a fascinating question in this regard. So I'll give it an answer in three ways. So as far as reach, we do service clients internationally. We concentrate most of our business in the United States, and we're headquartered on the East Coast. I know your question wasn't necessarily physical, but I'll go to the philosophical where I am now. All right. So philosophically, we had to make a decision several years ago to change our business from a lifestyle business to a business that would grow and expand. And the reason we made that choice was as we went to different seminars, we saw and talked to employees who were under various different types of roll-ups and experiences where their MSPs were growing rapidly, and the employees weren't having a great experience. And we thought, we can do this better. We suspect that we can do what everybody wants, which is make the employees happy and grow and acquire and help other MSPs grow and acquire in a way that helps the owner's investment, gets them a return when they do exit, and still protects the employees and gives them a consistent culture and an experience that's transferable. And so we've been concentrating on trying to address that difficulty as we grow and expand our business, both through acquisition, and someday, like all owners, we'll want to exit. And we want to have something that's winsome for somebody who would buy us and causes them to say, hey, this culture, this way you're doing things, this is worth preserving. We don't just want to pull people in and just put the platform in place. We want to take this culture and move it back in our direction. So that's our goal, is to create something that is winsome both for current employees and for us, causes people to want to work with us, and creates a great answer to somebody's thesis in the future when they look at us and we want to exit. So those are the things that we're doing, and concentrating on culture and building that team of people who are driven and who have humility and stewardship, along with the drive. That's what's pushing us. And we find that when we're doing that, we're naturally growing in double digits all the time.
Yeah, that is awesome. So what I heard you say is more of the clarity that you have, clarity in terms of where you're going, and also that abundance mindset, that you're not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about people around you. So you mentioned culture, you mentioned, like whatever you are creating, you're creating with the lens of also your culture, your team, and having that clarity that we all have to leave one day this earth, and we should always have a plan, the plan for our life plan, our business plan, being very clear with that. And there's just so much abundance that I have heard there. Now, tell me, Toby, what are you doing? I know you're very CMMC focused, security focused business and leader, and you have that as your unique capability. That is, I think, your trademark strength. So talk to us a little bit, like what makes your business so special, your MSP very special. What are your unique capabilities? And that's one. I think that will allow people to see collaborations with you, that, okay, this is your unique strength, and maybe someone else have another unique strength, and collaboration creates more value. Another piece is that I want to get into a little bit, building upon that, is like how you are thinking about AI and how you will adopt internally and also help your customers. So let's start with your unique capabilities.
Sonny, thanks for asking that. I think I'll do my compressed 30-second elevator speech version. MNS Group is a level 2 MSP. We've been assessed by a C3PAO. There's so many acronyms in the government, this can drown you. But in English, we have a certificate that we are complying with the Department of Defense, or the Department of War now, requirements for security, so that we can serve Department of War contractors and subcontractors, as well as federal contractors. There's very few MSPs in the world, I think maybe under 30 right now, that have this designation. As well, we are a C3PAO, a certified third-party assessment organization, so we can assess other MSPs and other contractors so they can get a certificate. And one of the things we do to give back is we help other MSPs. We're an open source business, so if you want to get level 2, call us. We'll tell you how. We'll share the path with you. And though when we do that, we can't assess you, right? We can't give advice and assess those we give advice to, but we have friends who can help. 20% of all of the assessment organizations in the world have come to us and use our platform. And so we're excited about that. We think that helping more people learn how to assess security helps you become better at your own internal security. It's this idea that if you teach something, you end up learning it and being more proficient than if you just sit and learn. And so we help other MSPs become compliant. We create competitors. There's so much work to do for people who are truly dedicated to excellent security and defending their clients, that we have no worries about sharing it. And we're very unique in that regard, I think.
That's abundance right there.
Yes.
More abundance mindset.
Yeah, overcoming fear. If I may, I'll tell a short story. You can decide to keep it or not. There's a story of a candy shop owner that has a candy shop across the store from another candy shop owner. And he sees that the guy across the street, he always has a line out his door. And he's struggling. He can't get anybody to come in the door. So finally one day he walks over and he tries to stand by the door and listen to see, what is this other candy shop owner doing? And he can't hear him saying anything different. He asks people about the price. The price is reasonable. It's about the same, but this guy has a line. He's standing there, and suddenly the owner of that store comes out, and he feels very embarrassed. He's been caught listening to a competitor, and the owner's like, well, why are you here? And he's like, I'll tell you the truth. I'm frustrated. I have no business. You have a lot of business. What's your secret? And the guy said, well, you may be surprised. I'll share the very secret of my success. Every time somebody buys something from me and they buy a pound of candy, I take a few extra pieces and put it on there and say, just in case the scale's off, here's some extra. And he's like, okay, well, thank you. And he goes back across the street and he starts doing the same thing. A little while later, he has a line out the door and he's doing very well. And he starts to feel sad. He thinks, maybe I've taken business from the candy store across the way. And he walks across the street and says, thank you for telling me this, but I feel bad. I think maybe my line out the door has taken business away from your line out the door. And the gentleman who shared the secret with him said, no, my business is growing also. And that's the philosophy we operate on. When you share and help other people with their business and their business grows, it's not a loss to your business. You don't have to live in fear. Many of us, I also for a long time, lived in fear that if somebody else won a deal, somehow I was losing a deal. And that's really not the way it is. There's plenty of business out there if you can get away from the fear.
Yeah. There is so much abundance mindset. And I think that's where the major difference is between people where they make an exponential impact because they think limitless, that if you can show up to serve with the capabilities that you have, then there is just so much, there is no competition, there are only collaborations. And I think that's where we both are very much aligned, again, with the values and mindset, because as a MSP in New York City, Toby, I could see every single MSP out there as a competition, but I didn't. When we created our unique capability at IT by Design, because we didn't want to use Zenith back then. This is 2007, and I took the US service standards and built my own offshore team for 24/7 delivery with the US service standards, and that became like my growth engine. And we had the line, the way you described that candy store. And then I'm like, other MSPs, they're like, hey, can I use this, especially in my peer group? And I'm like, yeah, sure, you can use my capability that I have, if it can help. And it's just one. And then second, it was that abundance mindset. It was sharing, caring mindset that, okay, it's okay. If I have something, you can benefit from that. And it's, that's all good. And people took that. And then now we have 400 MSPs where they are using our capabilities that are offshore. So where we build our teams for MSPs. And then it gave us a lot more, basically, thought leadership in the channel, like a lot of things that we're doing, our conference to everything is with that mindset of go-giver, is that mindset of abundance. And the point that I'm making is I did a TED Talk, and TED Talk was how to turn your competitors into collaborators. And I created 400 of them. And basically, what it takes is the mindset that you just shared, that you're helping other MSPs with getting better. And okay, so coming back to your unique strength, which is more of cybersecurity focus as a MSP, that MSSP. Now, let's talk about AI. The conversation is never complete nowadays, every day, because there's just so much excitement out there with the world, where all investors are focusing their money and people are getting billion-dollar offers without even having a single employee. It's just that a lot of buzz out there. But let's make it real. How are you thinking about AI in your business? And so talk to me a little bit more about, share your thinking on how you are implementing AI internally and how you are thinking about selling AI.
Sonny, many years ago when I was in Vistage, which was a CEO mentoring group that I was part of for about 10 years, they told us, if you want to grow and expand your business, rent an office space that's twice as big as you need. And I had some consternation when I heard that. It was surprising to me. And it strikes me that I took that advice and it happened. I rented the space, and within 2 years, we were out of space again. The AI industry right now, I would suggest a wise way to think about AI is that you need to, in a sense, rent an office twice as big as you need. And Sonny, what you've done to prepare AI tools for everybody and to do education, and part of what we do is, not everybody needs to have, a couple, AI units sitting on your desk so you can develop them, right? You don't need to do that, but you do need to invest in capacity because the demand is coming, and there's a lot of hype around this. What is important to understand is, as with any early launch of a technology, at first it's a very limited people, and the people who go in at first use huge sums of money, but it drops down to everyday usage very quickly. This is the time in life for MSPs to make sure that they understand AI and that they're educating their employees, but more importantly, Sunny, that they're developing products and offerings because their clients are desperate to understand, is this just a waste of money? Am I going to be taken out by a competitor if I don't do something? And so we have this, it's a very special time where AI it's like the early open source days of software when they used to ship out CDs with hundreds of applications. There's many, many AI things out there like Hugging Face and many other websites, but struggling how to apply it. I would say the talk I gave when you had graciously invited me up to the conference, start with something simple where you take an AI and create a simple product for your client, like being able to ask about HR policies. That's the example I always use. But you can take open source software in a short time, make an AI that you can give to your client. You could charge them monthly. You could do anything you want. But if you give them something where they practically understand, wait, yesterday my HR person answered emails and questions about health insurance, and today an AI is doing it, and now my HR person can do other things. That's a very simple example, but in every aspect of your business, if there's repetitive tasks or bodies of information that used to take a conversation with a human, you can now augment the human. You're not replacing them, but allow people to quickly get the answer if somebody's not available. And at its core, that's what AI is most useful at, allowing people to quickly get information that's useful when the human who has that body of knowledge isn't available. And it doesn't mean the human's replaced. It just means that that human's even more useful as you train the AIs. It doesn't take millions of dollars to train an AI. That's a misconception in this regard. To make one, to generate the original base AI, yes, it's very expensive, but it's very low cost to add some additional knowledge to an AI. And there's lots of ways to do that. It's not the purpose of this conversation, but I encourage people not to be afraid of it, to look into it. You can add information to an AI through a database or some extra training. It's really important to have your employees have access to it so that you're investing in them. So we make AIs available to all our employees. We have both open source models and OpenAI and Claude and Gemini. We make them all available. And we put certain parts of our support database in there. And we use certain AI tools in our ticketing. I think everybody should be looking at that right now. That way your level 1 person becomes effective at a level 2 or 3. And they're learning as the AIs give them answers or they see that. You're investing in them. They get that knowledge. And eventually they can be the person helping run the AI, train it, and tune it to have a great human experience.
Yeah, 100%. And so you mentioned some open source tools. And is there any that you recommend? Like where people are, when you're recommending it to a business, that especially the open source?
Sure. So you always want to look at your licensing, right, to make sure you can sell something. So if you used a Llama 3 model from Meta as a base model, that's licensed currently. They can change it anytime to 800,000 inquiries a day before you have to pay. So most of us won't run into that anytime soon. LM Studio is a free software product, and we were able a couple months ago to talk to them, and they changed their licensing so MSPs can use LM Studio without paying a license fee internally, and their clients can. LM Studio is the software that could run the Llama 3 model. You can download models from a website. It's a funny name, Hugging Face, but there's 2 million AIs that are free to download that have different specializations. I'm suggesting that you stick to that Llama 7B or 3B model, somewhere in that range. That would run on a normal computer with like 16 gig of RAM. Now, here's how you make a product for your client. Anything LLM, open source product that you can download, you can run it in a Docker image. It creates a website that you can put your logo on and brand, and you need to protect it, obviously, but you can then take that LLM, that language model, and now you have a web interface and you can set up logins. And so your clients can set up it. You can set this up for them internally, or you can set it up internally for yourself. And suddenly all the employees can access through a web interface this language model that's running on LM Studio that you downloaded a free model from Hugging Face. So that's the lightning, how to do it in open source. There's lots of other things you can do, but that would be a way to quickly set it up in your business and start playing with it.
Yeah, no, those are great suggestions. Thank you. And how do you see the impact from the cybersecurity point of view, right? So you are at the center as a trusted cybersecurity solution provider to your clients. And so what are the things that you are thinking through right now as a MSSP from adoption with a lot of security in mind? So AI first, but before AI first is security first mindset. So talk to us a little bit about how you're thinking about security first, AI first balance for internal adoption.
An interesting question about security and AI. And so let's map some language to language that people understand. Think of an AI instance as an immutable, unchangeable body of data that somebody's given you, right? So an AI by default comes with whatever it was trained with. It doesn't know anything about your business or your private information or sensitive data. When you have that AI and then you buy it or you set it up, you add extra knowledge to it. That knowledge is in a database. Often it's called a vector database, or sometimes it's generated through something called fine tuning. But both of those terms are creating a file, data, and you want to protect that data the same way you would with a SQL database, right? If you were running a database server, how would you protect the file structure? How would you protect the server? How would you protect who could access and make queries to that database? It is best to think of an AI as an interactive database, and you want to protect it in the same ways. So where it's sitting, the file structure, protecting it with appropriate security. The server it's sitting on, protecting that with appropriate security, firewalls, access, monitoring. And then as far as the web interface or the interface to pull knowledge, you protect that in the same way you would your SQL database if it had important client information. If you were running, I'll say, ConnectWise with a local instance and you had a SQL database and you paid the developer license, you wouldn't leave that open to the internet so anybody could query your ticket database and all your clients' difficulties and perhaps even their configurations. When you use AI, you have to think about it in the same way. It's a database server. Yes, it's interactive. It has some aspects that are like thinking, and it can come up with some synthesis. But ultimately, you're protecting a database, a collection of information on a server. And so think of it that way as you build your protections, and you'll move very far along the lines of what you need to protect it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Really thinking of that as a one of the major piece when you're implementing AI is if your line of business applications, let's say there are 5 or 10, every business have multiple databases. It could be your HubSpot and then probably ConnectWise or Halo or Kaseya or Autotask as an example in the MSP space. But every small, medium-sized business have multiple silo databases and you bring them into more vectorized form as a unified database. So you got to, the way you were thinking about securing your databases, this is a unified database that needs to be protected as well. And you need to really understand how it's talking to the world, and are you putting all the security best practices in place so that you're keeping your information safe and secure.
Yeah, from a very practical standpoint, for those who are of an engineering mindset, possible ways to do this effectively, there's a type of fine tuning where you use something called a LoRa file, capital L, lowercase o, capital R, lowercase a, LoRa. And these are little mini databases of specialized knowledge. You could set your AI to only load that for a certain set of users. That way you don't have to worry about information bleeding over between different users. That's just one example. There's lots of ways, but think, as you said, Sonny, thinking about when you have a combined database, understanding what users can query and access. When you combine data, the AI doesn't know that it shouldn't share data from this pool of knowledge to that pool of knowledge. And even if you say, do not share with this user this information, the AI has the same weaknesses as every human would have if you use social engineering. When AIs fail, when they lie to us or hallucinate, they're doing it at the same statistical level that humans tell white lies. They're trained on us. It's not a technical issue, right? They're imitating humanity. In the same way, if you have social engineering concerns, these are things we try to train our clients about. When somebody says, hi, I'm from the IRS and you owe money. No, don't answer that. You, as a human, often will try to socially engineer out of an AI the thing that you want. And so you have to think about, when you're building your AIs, think of them as a really knowledgeable 5-year-old, right? And so you want to understand that your users or the products you offer, somebody can attempt to socially engineer information out of it. It's the same principles as human social engineering. And so when you give your AIs bodies of information, there's a level of sort of innocence that a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old might have, and they'd have no chance talking to an adult. So think about it in that way. Who are you going to give access to it? And what are you going to do for somebody who may have the best intent if they're trying to trick the child?
Yeah, no, that's a great visual, great way of understanding, simplified. Now, one question I have, and the last question, Toby, is as a CMMC practice, you mentioned something last time when we were chit-chatting, is that there are some clients where regulation is not even letting them use any commercial model, right? So can you share that thinking, that what are those cases where you can't even use any commercial model? So that means that you have to keep those little boxes that you were just showing. Can you show that again as well? Like, when are you keeping there, and how other MSPs where they are in the same practice and having probably similar vertical that they're serving, how they need to think about maybe private AI, I can call it.
Yeah. So the Department of Defense issued a memo that said, if you have a contract with the Department of Defense, or if you are a subcontractor, you may not use a cloud service provider, think SaaS, that is not on FedRAMP.gov's marketplace, or alternatively, they could pay a C3PAO, that's different from CMMC, that's FedRAMP, for a BOE, or a body of evidence. And so as MSPs, many of our coolest products are cloud-based and are forbidden for use for Department of Defense or Department of War contractors and subcontractors, unless they're on that FedRAMP marketplace. So this raises the difficulty. So now as MSPs, we need to host internal versions of some of these products, and not all of these products are available as internal versions. So this is the greatest difficulty to be addressed. It's not pretty. We currently are running everything internally on Azure GovCloud and Amazon Cloud. We have Google and Oracle also have clouds, as well as I mentioned Microsoft. So having something on a cloud service that's FedRAMP is not the same as having a FedRAMP designation. Think of it this way. If you didn't have a driver's license, Sonny, but your wife was next to you in the car and she had a driver's license and you got pulled over for speeding and you're driving and you said, but officer, I'm in the car with somebody with a license. The police officer would say, that's ridiculous. Just because you're in the car with somebody with a license doesn't mean you have a license. This is the important way to think about FedRAMP status with Microsoft or Amazon or Google, right? Just because something's hosted in that environment doesn't mean the product has that designation. So this difficulty means that if you're going to work for the federal government or the Department of Defense, and eventually this is going to go down to the state level, there's something called the federal CUI rule that's coming out probably in December that extends to all federal contracts and eventually to GovRAMP in all of the states. So you have to find tools that are either FedRAMP or compliant, or you have to run tools internally so that you yourself are not a cloud service provider. This sensitive data is what the government wants protected. We're happy to help anybody if you have questions about it. You create a boundary diagram. The way you create a network diagram, you diagram where information can flow, and you want to tell your clients, never give me any sensitive information. And you need to have a plan so that if they do give it to you, you can delete it and notify them. And it's not the same thing like an incident like you've been hacked, but it has to be treated sort of like an incident of data being in the wrong place. And so these types of things are things you have to work through and think about if you have any type of government client or you want to work in that space.
I think I gained a lot of insights in terms of how to look at AI adoption and also serving customers where they have regulations, and you have to have that thinking of security first, that not everything out there can be used. You got to really go deeper into understanding how can you adopt with the governance in mind. That is really, really amazing. So now Fireside, 2 questions. If I'm a professional working in the space, in the MSP space, I'm probably working for MSP or SMB. If I'm listening to this as an employee, as a professional, what is Toby's advice to me? That's question 1. Question 2, if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a leader who needs to lead teams in the future, what's Toby's advice to that person?
So if you're working in the space, my primary suggestion is to always try to learn or obtain one new certification at least a year. And it doesn't even need to be in your chosen field. So, if you're going to learn how to do CPR, great, get that card. Maybe you're going to get your Security Plus, or maybe you're going to get an Amazon certification. But every year, and I mean, personally, I shoot for 1 a quarter, but each person what their capacity is. Once a year, you should try to achieve some new designation in some area of knowledge. Keep investing in yourself. This will give you ways to think that are different than other people. And it invests in yourself as far as ongoing value in the world and in your career. It tells your coworkers, it tells your direct employer, hey, I believe in investing in myself, which means I'll invest in you as a company. And it gives great confidence to them and to your clients that you're somebody who cares about what you're doing.
Yeah, that's great. And if I'm an entrepreneur or a business leader?
Yeah, so if you're an entrepreneur or business leader, I suggest a similar idea to two paths. One, I would designate every day a certain period of time to read the news from different perspectives around the world. So I read Financial Times out of England. I read newspapers out of Asia, Australia, and the United States to try to get a balanced view of what's going on in the world, and reading the technology sections. What are people doing? What's happening in governments? This seems like maybe it's esoteric, but really when you're working with business day to day and you understand what's happening in the world, it'll help you guide your business. And you may see ideas and ways to help people before other people. The second path is this idea of learning without expertise, right? And so when I talk about learning without expertise, for instance, if you're going to go into the CMMC world, I'll use that as an example. There's the CMMC Level 2 assessment guide. It's a couple hundred pages. You as a leader are probably never going to do a CMMC assessment directly. But if you spent 5 minutes a day reading it, you'd finish it in a month, not for mastery, not to know every term, but to just have a good sense of what it is that happens in that world for an assessor to do. In any area your business works in, I always suggest reading or training yourself, not for mastery, not for expertise, but to just have a general feel of a given knowledge area. If you're in HIPAA or high tech, whatever it is, learning not for expertise, but familiarity.
Yeah, that is so awesome advice. Thank you so much, Toby. And one thing that I leverage is something called real clear markets. So what they do is, and they have like different focus areas, real clear politics, real clear markets, real clear many different things. And they just take the bias out. So if, if you want to go to one place where you can probably learn a lot, but they bring perspectives from Asia, from Europe, from here, different outlets. They probably vet first and give that balance. That's like one place where I probably spend like a few minutes just to look at headlines. Yeah. So that's great advice. That I think there's the overall need for all of us to be aware and be intentional about perspective. And my kids ask me, Sunny, Dad, what's your advice for me? And I'm like, be a great human being and have a perspective. And the perspective, perspective is really, really, of course, other things are there, other things are important, but as more and more technology is coming in for the next generation, it will be very, very important for them to make sure that they're good human beings and they know how to gain a perspective, which is multidimensional. And they got to also be able to stay more present because more and more technology is there, more and more distractions are there, and more and more difficulty is there to do deep work, to have focus time on really creating something. Because right now, even for them, doing their homework is hard because the little device is right next to them. And they can't even focus on getting their homework done.
Yeah, I love that, Sonny. That's wonderful. If I add, and I know maybe it's a little off topic, but we have a tendency as humans to assign a moral component to a perspective, and sometimes that's appropriate, but many times it's not. If somebody has a different perspective, they probably believe that they're doing the right thing, and so curiosity and asking questions to understand the perspective. Often you may learn additional data that allows you to, I'm not saying you might change your mind or not, but at least you have some data. And there's not always a moral component because generally all the humans I meet are trying their best to do the right thing. They just might not have the same data set that you had to come to your own conclusion.
Beautifully said. Yeah, curiosity, and it doesn't cost anything. Curiosity just it's free. So thank you so much, Toby. Wonderful having this conversation with you. I'm so glad that we were able to do this show today, and a lot of gratitude for you for what you're doing, the impact that you're making as a leader, and especially the way you're thinking about everything. We need more Tobys in the world. Thank you for coming to my show. Truly appreciate you.
Well, Sonny, thank you. It was an honor. We need more Sonnys in the world, and happy to be useful. And if anybody wants to know CMMC stuff, we'll give it away for free. Come talk to us. We want more people having wonderful markets to pursue.
Thank you, Toby.
Thank you for watching Sunny's Silver Linings. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.